Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, of course, depending from where you hear my voice. This is the Biafra Gold Car. I'm super, super happy. Indeed, very excited, to have an opportunity via the Biafra Superstars Media to interact with us today. Yes, today's audio will be dwelling on the NNAMDI's trial, especially what happened between 18th and 19th of June. Yes, we saw how the court, led by Justice James Omotosho, joined everything after 18 to 19 and said, look, uh, prosecutors and defense attorneys, I want you to go back, consider all the witnesses, what they said, consider all the exhibits and evidences, what they portray and what they show and what they indicate. Get back to me, let us know if in actual facts Mazen Kanu has a case to answer. So whatever your findings are would determine whether, there would be another, a continuation of the trial, for terrorism charges and secessionist tendencies. So after 18th and 19th, Justice James Omotosho, you know. So look, Nnamdi Kanu, your prosecutors, you know, and defense attorneys. Let us go through what it is so far, what it is so good, and let us determine what the next case is. Is there a case for Nnamdi Kanu to answer, or is the trial a misnomer? So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start off very clearly indeed, and I want to precisely let us all know where my mind is. In the first instance, we should all realize and remember that the trial of Mazen Namdekan between 18th and 19th of June was very peculiar. Very peculiar indeed. Yes, it was peculiar because I'm sure a lot of you know that the 47th president of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, sent two observers from the United States. Of course, he sent two delegates to monitor, you know, the, 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 the case and the proceedings, and, with a view to finding out, well, what are these people actually doing? Does Mazen Namdekanu has a case to answer, or does he not have a case to answer? So these two delegates from the United States came there, and of course, they also, previewed the max witnesses and the so-called exhibits and the evidences they claim to possess. They also watched the videos, which were most times cloned videos with cloned voice, cloned pictures of Mazen leader Mazen Namdekanu. And of course, the two American delegates, who monitored, the course of the proceedings on 18th and 19th, has reported down to the Mr. Donald Trump, the 47th president of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you clearly here now, that of course those delegates have summed it up. Of course, they summed it up and said all the brouhaha, all the so-called, razzmatazz about Mazen Namdekanu was a complete fiasco. They have said that as far as that concerned, rule of law was never uh, fully applied. Of course, they have said the rendition of Mazen Namdekanu from Kanu and the way manner he was kidnapped from Kenya, rather, sorry, beg your pardon, from Kenya, and the way manner he was renditioned down to Nigeria was in the first instance a complete aberration of justice. It was completely lacking in decorum, lacking in every naturally, internationally, acclaimed legal procedures. And of course, they said, ab initio, there really has been no case for Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Of course, they said it is a very clear case of fundamental human abuse, human rights abuse. It's a very clear case of the people who want to give a dog a bad name because, of course, they want to hang the dog. A case of giving the dog a bad name because you want to hang the dog. So the two delegates from the United States who, came down to Nigeria to monitor Mazen Namde's 18th and 19th trial process, and judge the whole thing a complete misnomer of justice, a fiasco. Yes, lacking in judicial, you totally and widely acclaimed procedures. So, ladies and gentlemen, as it is now, I can tell you clearly and happily, of course, the verdict definitely from James Omotoshaw's Honorable Judge, Justice James Omotoshaw's court in a federal high court in Abuja will be, of course, that Mazen Nandekan was the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, brace up already. The 47th president of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, is fully, vigorously, excitedly interested in this much. And I tell you the truth. Let me tell you as the truth that after these delegates, are, of course, reported to Donald Trump, he has sent his feelers down to Nigeria because the Nigerian government knows a lot is at stake. I mean, you don't touch a tiger by the tail and expect things to be normal. You don't touch a lion by the tail and expect things to be normal. So the Nigerian government is in a state of disequilibrium. Everything about Abuja now, especially because of Nandan's trial, has become a complete, disequilibrium for Emilio and his, team of executives. Yes, of course, a lot of people thought that Emilio should have availed himself the opportunity created, by the so-called Democracy Day, that he should have used that opportunity, or even the so-called June 12th, Abiola saga, to have announced a complete pardon, unconditional pardon for our maximum leader. But of course, he turned deaf ears. He cheated himself of an opportunity, to write his name in gold. He couldn't, he didn't, and decisively, he could not take any meaningful action. The failure to act, the failure to speak, the failure to do the right thing has cost Emilio an opportunity to have his names written in gold. So I want to assure you, ladies and gentlemen, as it is now, we can be beating our chest with some excitement and some level of certainty that justice will be done and be seen to be done in our maximum leaders so-called trial, orchestrated trial, fake trial, false trial and mistrial in the zoo. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you the truth. This 47th president of United States, Mr. Donald Trump, has come up this period, this second opportunity he has to govern America. He has come up to be the policeman of the world. You can see what he's doing between Russia and Ukraine. You can see to a very large extent the well manner he came into, the whole picture. And of course, he has made it completely difficult for either Russia or Ukraine, to thump their chest and say, we are winning this war. He has come up and become the policeman of the world. Equally, look at what is happening between Israel and Iran now. You can see the prominent role America is playing. Because, of course, the 47th president of the United States is, a no-nonsense man. He has zero tolerance, for wickedness. He has zero tolerance for the miscarriage of justice. He has zero tolerance, for anything that is completely, bereft of the rule of law, and where any place, any matter, the fundamental principles of, justice, equity, and fair play are marginalized. So, ladies and gentlemen, brace up. Yes, the 47th president of America is clearly, visibly, totally interested in what is happening in Nigeria. Yes, he made a bold claim. He has severally even spoken to Finland. I know several times when the United States president has called Alexander Stubb to order. You can imagine the way and manner, Simon EKPA's trial and be going in Finland, despite all the razzmatazz, despite all the manipulations of the zoo government to manipulate, Mr. Alexander Straw, despite all the so-called promises, including sending the Vice President Shetima, to go during the last United Nations Leaders Forum in New York, go there and meet Alexander Straw, go there and promise him heaven on earth, including sending Truger, yes, you see Truger, the External Affairs Minister, uh, and for Foreign Secretary to the government, who was one time the governor of Bauchi State, including equally sending our own Bianca Bianca Ojukwu Ono, wife of the widow of our dean, Tumego Ojukwu, who he appointed Minister for Foreign Affairs, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, using these people, to state manage, to manipulate, to lobby, and to bribe Finland to, do the wrong things for the wrong reasons. Of course, the 47th president of America, did not, sleep. He did not bet his eyelids. He didn't care whose ox was God. Of course, he told Finland, "We are watching you. You know you are, one of the superpowers. Of course, you're an advanced European country. You shouldn't settle for less. Whatever you're doing with Simon Epa Job, let justice be seen to be done. Not just it has to be justified, but the justice should be seen to be done." So we're happy equally to inform you. So far, so good. Our own Simon Epa has been in good hands. Yes, Yahweh has been with him, and of course, he's highly favored because Finland has gone through the books, have gone through their so-called evidences sent from Nigeria by Nigerian government. They've gone through the so-called content creator, accusations that, of course, the Yoruba media are planted on our prime minister. And I'm happy to tell you, so far so good, nothing concrete, nothing tangible, nothing has been held against our able prime minister in Finland. And we can all see the handwriting on the wall. Yes, soon and very soon, he will be given an unconditional release and freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, NNAMDI Kanu's case in the hands of Justice James Omotoso is very likely and sincerely on the verge of complete, complete, complete freedom. A case of no case to answer. Yes, a case of, well, after all the so-called, marksmen witnesses, after the gangster paradise sort of, trial, after all said and done, after exhibits that comprise of suitcases, suitcases, carrying stuffed with boxers, pajamas, roll-ons, hairbrush, hair dye, paste, singlets, and all that. After all the so-called 4 boxes, suitcases, were filled with bedspreads, bed sheets, toiletries, and then they said including devices. All those stories have failed to move the international community. All those claims by Nigerian government bringing in a so-called DSS hooded witnesses where their faces are hidden, their voices are tampered with, of course, so that nobody will recognize them. The whole world was watching with shame and fury. The 47th president of America watched with unmitigated fury against Nigerian government because it was obvious to them that, of course, what these people were doing was try at all means to convict an innocent man. a man who preached peace, a man who preached love, a man who said, consider the plight of my fellow Biafrans, consider the plight of Biafrans. My people have suffered enough. They have been subjugated, marginalized, treated like second fiddle. My people lack every opportunity to ascend the highest positions in the land. When it comes to them, when it comes to election, every organ of government, including the INEC, which should be an unbiased umpire, is leashed and unleashed against it. I mean, we also what happened during the February 23 elections, where it was obvious, Biafran, even though we were not interested in that election, even though we were not interested in the Zulu government anymore. But of course, that was a very, very glaring case of the subjugation of the Biafran people. I mean, it was very clear when we were all watching in the mass medias, in the social media, in the televisions, and in the newsprints within the zoo. We heard the INEC man call results very clearly and loudly. What we were hearing was Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour Party. And all of a sudden, of course, when the government magic has come in, when Emiloko has done what he intended to do, when the chairman of INEC, knew had been taken care of, all of a sudden we started hearing labor, 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 as if the INEC umpire was getting tired, as if he was lacking breath, and all of a sudden we started hearing APC, 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 APC. Ladies and gentlemen, we were all flabbergasted when, of course, Labour Party turned APC. We now saw figures that suddenly developed wings that defied geometric and arithmetic projections. We saw figures that were tumbling. We saw government magic. No, let me not say government magic. We saw INEC magic, where suddenly Labour that was leading in thousands upon thousands, all of a sudden the OPC came in, and what we are hearing was tens of thousands, not triplicates of thousands, twins of thousands. All of a sudden, they said Emiloko had won. And of course, we all know what was the tradition there. What was Emiloko's response when he was declared winner of an election that conclusively showed a Biafran man was topping and was clearly the leader? What was the response of Emiloko? What did the Jagaban say? He told the whole world, still listing and listing gold. The election has been won. It has been conducted. It has been won. And I, B-A-T, Emiloko the Jagaban, I have won. I have won. The mantle has moved from Buhari. Yes, President Buhari, to myself. If you don't like it, if you don't agree with it, if you don't like the fact that I've won, you have an option. Go to court. Go to court. Ladies and gentlemen, the man told us to go to court. Emiloko said, go to court if you want to contest it. I have won. Whether you like it or not, I am the president, de facto president of this country by virtue of this February 2023 election. So, ladies and gentlemen, he openly told us, go to court if you're not happy. Go to court. Let us meet in court and let us see what you can do in court. A very clear assumption, a very clear indication that the judiciary had been settled. A very clear indication that, the courts were no longer the arbiter of the masses. Clear indication that because nobody would get justice when you go to Nigerian courts. Clear indication that he has settled the judges. Clear indication that he had, taken care of INEC and the highest umpire of INEC. He has taken care of everybody. And they said, if you don't like it, you have an option. Meet me in court. So it's a very sad commentary, ladies and gentlemen, that the judiciary has failed Nigerians. It has failed, the people of Nigeria. I mean, this is a country that, since this Emiloko tragedy. In February 2023, people, citizens have been suffering, living from one type of hardship to the other. People are living in squalor and poverty. Who can talk of 3 meals anymore? Who is talking of three meals anymore? People have not even eaten once, let alone twice. And you're talking of 3 square meals. People are living in hunger. Hashtag, government of hardship. People have, tightened their belts until there's no more waste to tighten. People have started living, fasting without any religious intentions, because of course they cannot afford anything. A lot of children have had to leave school because of course their parents cannot pay school fees anymore. Marriages have broken down. Wives have abandoned their husbands because of course the man can no longer, put foods on the table as it used to be. Things have taken a very downward trend. Poverty and starvation is all over the land. And you said, Emiloko, it is my turn. Ladies and gentlemen, I keep wondering what Emiloko means. When you said it is my turn, what turn were you referring to? The turn to, invest hardship and difficulty on Nigerians. I mean, these were people coming from the 8 years misrule of PNB. People who were just coming out from 8 years misrule from a man who had nothing to offer. And then we thought, when this one came and said, it is my turn, take it or leave it, it is my turn. When he was inaugurated on the 29th of May, and the first thing he said, thank you for making me your president. As far as I'm concerned, get ready, brace up, fuel subsidy is removed. Fuel subsidy is removed. We want to save enough money and make Nigerians happy. We want the fuel to go around. A lot of people clapped for him, believing that he meant it, believing that he was sincere in what he was saying, believing that in fact, finally the Messiah had come. Little did a lot of people know that the doomsday has started. Because from that May 29th, then when the subsidy was removed, it became a case of fry pan to fire. Nigerians were living, from fry pan to fire, from difficulty to higher difficulty. It was like being between a rock and a hard thing. It was like being between the devil and the deep blue sea. And a lot of people have died. A lot of individuals have lost their jobs because, of course, companies are trying to downsize to meet up with economic realities. A lot of students, like I said, have had to leave school. The parents can no longer afford, the exorbitant fees. A lot of schools had to close up because, of course, there was the percentage of withdrawal from students and pupils was very high. The school could not meet up. Companies had folded up. Market women were crying. The cost of food items skyrocketed. A bag of rice that most families could easily afford, at maybe 30,000, 32,000, 35,000 at most, depending on the quality of the rice, suddenly ascended into the high heavens. It is on record that a bag of rice went to 300 and something thousand. A bag of beans equally quadrupled. And the people were living in squalor and, hardship and poverty. Of course, children started developing the characteristics of kwashiorkor. Massive heads, big tummies, tiny legs, tiny arms, and a lot of people were sick. The sick could not afford medical expenses. A lot of people died. Fortunately, what Emiloko said, it is my turn. When he said, it is now my turn, became a very terrible nightmare for Nigerians. Of course, we saw the end hardship, hashtag and bad governance protest. We saw people protest against, hardship and difficulties. We saw people coming out, a lot of people committing suicides because, of course, they had debts they could not pay anymore. I mean, we saw what happened in the country. Suddenly, the funds were not coming. Suddenly, the banks preferred individuals to go to POS. They preferred to give POS subscribers money. Where you go, you want your money from your bank, you pay dearly for it. You want 5,000, you're paying close to 500 naira. At that peak, it was terribly, terribly difficult. And Nigerians, the zoo, were crying because, of course, it looked as if hair had been let loose. Ladies and gentlemen, these were some of the things that the 47th president of Nigeria observed from this administration. I mean, this clueless government, this hashtag difficulty and hardship government, this government that seemed not to listen to the majority of the masses who are living in poverty and lack, while the politicians are living in squandermanism, corruption, and living like there's no tomorrow. I mean, they're buying private jets, they're buying bulletproof cars, they travel every now and then for so-called medical trips overseas. I mean, they are acting like, the money grows on trees. Meanwhile, the generality of the masses were living in lack, in difficulty, in poverty, in disgrace, in sickness, and in fear. Of course, they brought in, allowed the terrorists, Boko Haram, Fulani jihadists, Lakarawa group, all kinds of terrorists to take over the country. And of course, these people continue to unleash mayhem, killing, maiming, burning farms, burning houses, killing people, burning down churches, making life totally difficult for the majority of the masses, especially for Christians. Because, of course, the Fulani jihadists have been told that when you gun down a Christian, when you kill a Christian, you are heavily blessed in the heavenly places. For when you go to heaven after killing infidels, they call Christians, 7 virgins will be given to you in heaven, and you can marry them and live a blissful life. And so they went on rampage, killing, maiming, destroying communities in Ebonyi State, in Enugu State, in Abia State, in Imo State, in Anambra State, in Kaduna State, in Benue State, Taraba State, even some parts of, the Southwest, Ondo State and Co. We saw bloodletting everywhere. So, of course, the 47 president, they didn't take things easy. In fact, at the point, visa ban was, inflicted on Nigerian leaders. Many Nigerian leaders, including the governors, including the House of Assembly members, including even the so-called Emiloko. You can imagine what happened when Mr. Donald Trump was being inaugurated as the 47th president of America. And what did he do? He did not invite the Jagaban. He did not invite his vice, Adi Shetima. He did not invite the Calabar man, who is the third in power, that has turned the House of Senate to a house of, hooliganism, sexual harassment, and all kinds of atrocities. He didn't invite them. Who did he invite? The 47th president of the United States invited our able Prime Minister, former Chief of Staff, Dr. Ngozi Oraweze. Yes, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra. They redeclared sovereign United States of Biafra. Invited Dr. Ngozi Oraweze to his inauguration. A big shame to Emiloko and his allies and fellow executives. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure us, and we should be very, very attentive. We should believe and hope and pray that, yes, since the 47th president of the United States sent two delegates to monitor the course of the proceedings on 18th and 19th of June. I mean, trials of our maximum leader, NNAMDI Kanu. And of course, they have given reports, and we saw how Justice Jenson Motosho said, well, at this juncture, we'll pause. Let the prosecuting attorneys, let the defense attorneys, let them go and watch the videos. Let them go and watch all the proceedings of this trial and see whether there will be a need to adjourn and continue, or would there be an opportunity and the verdict of no case to answer. If you ask me, ladies and gentlemen, our maximum leader, NNAMDI Kanu, has no case to answer. Whether they like it or not, willy-nilly, Nigeria must, the Zoo government must, Emiloko must accede to the conclusion of the 47th president of America, of world leaders, European leaders, African leaders, United Nations leaders. They have all said NNAMDI Kanu has no case to answer, because, of course, the way manner you brought him down to Nigeria from Kenya, The way manner you kidnapped him, breaking Kenya rules, breaking African rules, breaking Organization of African units, OAU's rules and conventions, breaking United Nations conventions of human rights and the rights and privileges of people. I mean, the way manner Nigeria trampled on justice, judiciary, and internationally recognized judicial processes and requirements showed that they needed this maximum at all cost, and they wanted to find him guilty, pronounce him guilty. But ladies and gentlemen, Yahweh has always been for us. Yahweh is on our side. Our Mazamon leader enjoys, and Biafra, of course, enjoys the support of Mr. Donald Trump, the 47th president of the United States, the policeman of the world, the man who has said, enough is enough. I'm going to read of the word. I'm going to read the word of terrible people by Camilo Con and his likes. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to pause here. It's getting late. Let us remember that Nnamdi Kanu's trials, especially the 18th and 19th, have come into very, very public domain. A lot of people are interested in it internationally. International press was there. American delegates was there, sent directly from the office of the 47th president, Mr. Donald Trump. European leaders sent their delegates, and I can assure you there's no place to hide for Nigeria. There's no place to hide for Emilio Con and his aides. There's no place to hide for all those who hate, Biafra and what Biafra represents. Shame on them. Shame on them. Either here or in Finland, we shall soon be popping champagnes. We shall soon be celebrating because our two prominent Biafran leaders would have no case to answer. Ladies and gentlemen, let's pause it here until I come your way again. God bless you. Continue to pray for Biafra and the success. God bless you all.
Biafra must be restored, for there is nothing the enemies can do about it. You brought light may come into Africa. You gave us hope because we are in a continent of hopelessness. And by thy grace, Biafra shall be restored. We shall be resurrected. We shall crown our efforts with the glory by the grace of the Most High Himself. We are not strong. We do not pretend to be strong. All we do is to submit ourselves to your will, that your will may be done upon our lives. We have lost many people. We have lost so many good people. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. We shall honor them, and for their sake, Biafra will come. Because we are wandering all over the world, hoping against every hope that things will turn around for the better. It has never turned around for the better. Instead, it is getting worse. Please do not abandon your children. You have given us a commission, and we must accomplish it in our lifetime. Our enemies are equally important because they must listen. Those who do not love the truth must listen. Those who are beholden to darkness, they must also listen. For we are here to bring light upon a very darkened continent without Biafra. Africa is nothing without Biafra. There is no difference between a black man and a wild animal in the forest. We say every shred with every ounce of conviction. I welcome each and every one of you. If you're joining us for the very first time, this is Radio Biafra. This is how we do it. We magnify the name of the Most High before we do anything. That is why we are exceptionally formidable. That is why